So Mr. Paul Appleby is the recovery consultant and CEO for Counseling and Consultants, etc. LLC. Paul Appleby received a Bachelor's of Arts degree in psychology from the University of San Diego in California in 1983. He's licensed independent substance abuse counselor and currently the CEO of Counseling and Consulting, etc. LLC. Paul has pledged his life since his recovery to helping others. How he's been helped, he has collaborated with a wide range of organizations providing prevention, intervention, and recovery services. Paul is a recovery specialist, a community liaison, and an advocate for the voiceless. And he is one of our biggest advocates for our young people on our campus, helping young people one-on-one and working with our staff. So please, everybody, please help me to welcome Mr. Paul Appleby. Mr. Appleby, thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much for inviting me. As you said, that Changemaker has been on my heart from the start. And when you all had invited me to come in and share my history and my life, hopefully, of course, to help these students learn how to live a healthier, more productive lifestyle with a yes, I can attitude. I speak from that position because of my own personal history of things that I've gone through in my life that has led me into not only substance addiction, but self-destructive actions and behaviors. And it was only through me going through experiencing these things and learning about why I was doing what I was doing that led me to be who I am right now today. And so I am very thrilled and I'm happy to be able to speak. And I hope there are a few parents on the line, along with some other youngsters, as well as this incredible staff with Changemaker, so that we can communicate on how to kind of deal with the stress related to dealing with this coronavirus and its impact on us and our homes, even when and how we use the restroom. So it has impacted us on every level. And I think that not having an understanding about why and how we feel the way we do when we threatened, and because that's what it is, it has thoroughly threatened our entire lives and our families, as well as our communities, our jobs. As you can see, the impact what's happening around the world, let alone what's happening in our own households with the threat of this virus. And to me, when I look at it and I feel the fears related to the threat, I know that what I've done and what has happened to me and how I have worked through my trials and my tribulations, that I can be a help prayerfully in this situation here today in the town hall. So with that, are there any questions? Well, in talking with my wife first about the virus, as you could see on the screen, there is an introduction. There is the agenda, and I'm going to try and stick with the agenda. But most importantly, I would like to invite the community to engage in sharing what they're thinking and what they're feeling about the experiences that they're having. We know that our households right now is I won't say congested. It's the people who there are supposed to be there, but we at some point in time prior to this virus could get out and experience life the way that we do it, whether it's at work, whether it's out hanging out with our friends or going out bowling, and those type things that we're unable to do has caused this unsurety in reference to what's going to happen to us. So I heard the fears. Marilyn has sent me an outline of what some of the fears, the anxieties, and that are impacting our folks, and hopefully we can look at that. So first of all, let me say this, because it's such an impact in our lives when we're threatened and we're acting certain ways, and we're acting in ways that we think or we feel that are right, and then others are telling us that they are wrong. When you look at the going to the store, the hoarding of toilet tissue, or even Top Ramen. I don't know if you all know it or not, but Top Ramen is full of sodium. And I seen a gentleman whose house was full, almost every room, and it had a different flavor in each room, whether the shrimp, the beef, or the chicken. And so he may escape the virus, but man, his blood pressure gonna be off off the charts. So these efforts and these choices and decisions that we're making are in our minds, the best way to go. But when we're making decisions based on stress or anxiety, on fears, and related to that, it's at that point sometimes we can make unhealthy choices that lead us to unhealthy consequences. So the first thing in this introduction, because I want to keep all of us on the same page and not anyone feel judged or anyone feel shame or guilt or blame for anything. Let me say this is an opportunity to learn how to deal with our stressful situations in healthier, more productive ways. Through my experience and the folks that I work with who think they are making the right choices, and you go in and you try and help them to make maybe a better choice, sometimes we fall into the area of being judged right or wrong. So I don't deal with being right or wrong. I deal with, is it healthy or unhealthy? Only because it's tough to say to someone, and I ask them, do you think it's healthy to drink a pint of liquor 2 or 3 days in a row? And if they say, you can't say whether that's right or wrong, because at that point they're doing it, they think that they're right. But then when you ask, is it healthy or unhealthy? Then they have to really, hopefully, prayerfully, if they want to change, make a healthier choice. So where we're at now, and we're backed up into this corner, and we don't know which way to go. We're looking at television, we're listening to the media, we're being impacted by all of this fear that is happening across the world, and no one knowing what to do. So we don't have those answers. Some of us are out of jobs. Some of us are worried about losing resources that we've accumulated. We may not be able to make enough money. We have all of this thing, and we're looking so far in the future that we're not being mindful of what's happening before us. And the true art of change and making a difference in our lives, because we cannot stop the virus. We cannot stop what's happening around us. The virus is dominating everywhere. And if we keep our focus on that virus, we can hardly think about what we need to do with our next steps, even for ourselves to stay healthy or our family members to stay healthy. Is that understandable? Am I talking clearly? Okay, so there's no response back to me when I'm talking? Okay. So
I think everyone has their phones muted.
No, yeah. I had to swipe the button.
I think
okay.
I think everybody's muted.
Because I want to make it a conversation too. I don't want to just be like I'm just bumping my gums,
Right.
So I just want to make sure that there's a response back to me. So what we hope to do today, as you look at this framework, I designed it in alignment with Changemaker, since this is about and from Changemaker and the Changemaker community. We're looking at the competencies that all the students are obligated to follow. And it's been off the hook for me, because I used it when I'm talking to some of our young people and trying to get them clued in to the magic of change, of making healthy changes in your life. And that's why we have Changemaker. So if you look at the first Changemaker competency, and I put these in place so we can look at them and we can get on the same page and work in alignment with these things, because these competencies, because this is what it's going to take for us to learn to make healthier choices in such times like these, in which we cannot control what's happening on the outside and all around. We can control and change what's happening for us on the inside. And how we think and how we feel, that's up to us. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, just to show you a couple of slides that focuses on how we can make healthier, mindful choices and decisions in our life. But these pieces here are important. So when you look at empathy, and I'm just going to read a couple of these. And hopefully, if you want this, some of this PowerPoint, they can be sent to you. But empathy, it says students are able to identify and relate to the challenges of their peers and future Changemaker students. So us as a community, if we're following this model, it looks like this. As a community, we will identify and relate to the current challenges we are facing and ready ourselves in whatever challenges we might face in the future. Again, I'm tying this into hopefully some of the things that you can do to kind of ease yourself of some of the panic, some of the fears, some of the anxiety and hopelessness that's existing right now in our lives. Not everyone, but most of us find ourselves faced with this. So empathy and understanding what's going on with those around us, our children, our wives, other folks in our family, and in our community, and the fears and how it's affecting and impacting their lives. Now, you could ask a question at any point. Teamwork. Students collaborate with peers to put into action sustainable solutions. What's going to help in the long run? Sustainable, not just here's a problem that we're facing. Can I get that done now? We don't know how long this virus is going to dominate the world around us. So the solutions that we have to make as a team in our homes, in our communities, must be sustainable. And so as a community agreement is that bold that I'll be reading. I'm sorry I didn't make that clear in the beginning. So as individuals, families, and community members, we will collaborate and put into action, it should be sustainable solutions. I'm looking at pictures there and people. Problem solving. Students are able to analyze social problems and find solutions that best resolve these issues. So as in our family, in our homes, right now, we will, or during this process that we're in currently, in this town hall, we will identify, analyze, and share concerns related to the anxiety, fears, frustrations, and questions the coronavirus that's caused by, that we have concerning the coronavirus, the COVID, I think I misspelled that, 19, and discuss meaningful solutions that lead to holistic wellness resolutions. Can you bring that up a little bit, the leadership? We went off to the other page. Okay. Yeah, something here. What is this? Check if you want to switch. I don't want to switch. I don't know how to get this off my screen. Oh, there we go. Okay, leadership. Students are confident and capable mediating in unjust situations. They are able to step up and follow through with solutions. So what we're doing today, and we're talking about this change, we who are capable and going to assume leadership in our own homes. And these are some of the things that we must be confident, and we can't be shaken by the fears and anxieties that we're facing. We know they are natural and normal, but we cannot be paralyzed by our fears to where we can't make the next healthy choice because of some fear that we're facing that is so far down the line. We don't know how long this is going to last. We don't, but if we get stuck on it, we won't be able to make the next healthy choice. So we will take, as a leader, we will take the challenge to honestly share our truths with others and without feeling guilty or shame or judged, and trust the process to help us take the lead to help others as we ourselves are being helped. I didn't see that part. Something about the rule. Anyway, so what we need to, take the lead to help others as we ourselves are being helped. That's our rule in this group. that's the first rule in this group, is trust this process. And what's said in this group, what's said in this conference stays in this conference. That's important. I say that for people who aren't used to speaking about their truths and able to trust. But in order to make change or have change in your life, as I said earlier, I had to go into a process of change, and I had to share what my fears were. I had to share why I made unhealthy choices, to be caught up in substance addiction and to continue to be there and losing not only my freedom, but losing my self-respect and those type things. So we've made some choices and decisions in this situation and circumstance right now that we're not proud of, but those fears and those type of things, the frustrations that you're having, I hope that you can share some of that today. And we're coming up to that point till you be able to do that. I'm ready for the next slide. But first, before we go forward, I want to share some terminology with you so that we are on the same page. I have a definition here of mindfulness, and it's pretty long, so I'm gonna kind of paraphrase it just a little bit. But what it is, it's the mindfulness is a state achieved by focusing awareness on the present moment, right now, while calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensation. It's used as a therapeutic technique. So mindfulness is the ability to, no matter what's happening around us, to stay patient, to stay calm, to stay aware of who we are in the midst of this virus and its impact on the world around us, our family members. If we're driving a car, and your ability to focus is in front of you, you cannot, first of all, drive looking in the rearview mirror. If you do that, you're going to wreck. And if you drive looking too far down the road and you're not looking at the crosswalk in front of you, you're liable to kill somebody, probably yourself. So mindfulness, we're going to be talking about that a bit today. So getting on the same page with mindfulness is being able to know that the anxieties, the fears, know what the truths are around us and what's happening and the things that we cannot control, but having a greater understanding that the only thing that we can control and the only thing that we can change is how we feel, think, and behave for ourselves in the midst of this madness. If we want peace, we have to focus on that. If we want anxiety, we're going to see anxiety and we're going to focus on that. So if I say to you, don't think about a pink elephant with tennis shoes. Don't think about a pink elephant with tennis shoes. Don't you dare think about a pink elephant with tennis shoes. Well, what happens? Because in order not to think about it, you got to think about it. Your focus is not there. So mindfulness is simple as paying attention, living in the moment, accepting yourself and treating yourself with respect, and others as well. And this could be a simple mindfulness exercise. Is focus on your breathing for 5 seconds. Let's just do that so you can have let's do it for 10 seconds and just focus on your breathing. You inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. So mindfulness would be, how do you feel when you're breathing? What does it feel like coming in through your nostrils when you inhale? When you exhale, what's happening to your chest and stomach? Are you breathing and inhaling all the way down to your diaphragm, or are you just inhaling to your lungs? And when you exhale, when you're blowing it out, are you blowing it out through your nose or your mouth? What does that feel like in your nostrils? What does it feel like in your mouth? Well, there's a little hair. Some of us got hairs in our nose, so you can feel a little tickle in there. That mindfulness is being able to focus on those little particular things. And if you're focusing on those particular things, those things like that, then you're not focusing so much on what's happening in the world outside of your home. Mindfulness. Knowing the who and you to deal more effectively with the them and they in such a time like this. Our whole process of talking and communicating right now is knowing that everybody is going through some suffering. Everybody's going through some fears, some anxieties. Everybody is. And if you're the leader in your household, if dominating you and you can't seem to get yourself calm and under control, what do you think will happen to your family members? And youngsters too. And it's important that you know, because as I talk to the youngsters in school, they have to understand who they are and be okay with who they are to deal with the people and the other students around them, because students sometimes can be cruel. They can be cruel if you're wearing your clothes and according to them not right. If you're a little overweight or your hair is not just right, and the abuse that they have to take from folks talking about them, and then it impacts their lives in such a way that it affects their grades. It affects the way that it affects them, the way that they carry themselves in the classroom. Teachers as well, same thing. When knowing who you are, and then you have to deal with students sometimes who are struggling in the morning. Maybe they haven't had breakfast. Maybe they got a beating last night and they don't understand why. And they come to the classroom, it's not the person, you're not the person that beat them, but you're definitely an adult. And so they feel free enough, and in their minds, it's right to go ahead and defend themselves against the adult in the room, which may be you. And so if you don't understand that that's where that's coming from, maybe you take that personal, and maybe you take it home and you can't sleep at night. Well, when you look at it from that perspective, that's the same thing what's happening with the virus outside of us. We cannot control it, but we have some fears associated with it because it's impacting our lives in that way. So having that knowledge and understanding about yourself will help you to deal in this type moments. Now, and the way that we're going to do that today and focus as we get into I want to call it the treatment stage, but the stage to that's going to lead us into learning how to be mindful. When we get into phase 4, practicing the strategies of mindfulness, we're going to be working to try and be calm, trying to be healthy, trying to be strong, trying to be aware of what's affecting us and what I call the 4 domains. We got a picture of that, right? We can pop to slide 2 really quickly. Can we do that? Is that quick for you? Looking at the 4 domains right there, looking at that. And we're going to pop back in a second, because the next thing that we're going to do is allow everyone to kind of express what their fears and that type of thing are. Is it, when you look at this, it says, is it true that we can choose wellness no matter what mental, emotional, physical, social, or spiritual condition we are experiencing at any given time? So as you're sharing and you're talking, I want us to all listen. And you will hear people expressing their comments from the physical side of themselves, the fear of dying or getting sick. That's a physical expression, and it's impacted by what's going on around us. Emotional, the fears, and the mental, when we're thinking about what may happen, or we don't know what happened, and we find ourselves in a sense of hopelessness. There's nothing can happen. There's no change, and that impacts us. And socially, of course, is our family members. Now, a lot of us, we're trying to stay indoors, and that's what we're advised to do, to keep the social distancing and that sort of thing. But that's kind of difficult to do in the house, at least with me and my wife. I don't have her locked in the closet somewhere and away from me. I can't do that right now anyway, because she's very ill and sick. So we're impacted by things that are happening outside of our home, and especially now inside of our homes. And it's affecting the way that we deal with one another and ourselves. And spiritual, always like to highlight this piece, because sometimes people have a little difficulty recognizing spirituality. And what folks pretty much focus on is on the aspects of religion, which are social, and people gathering and they're promising and they're making agreements to serve whatever Lord or God that they serve together. That's social. And sometimes we have bad experiences socially with, and then we start to assign our spirituality to people or something that God is not. But spirituality is your own personal relationship with what you serve and worship. I like to tell my young people or people who are struggling in that way, if you serve and you worship your shoes, well, there you go. But in reality, it's as simple as your breathing. So focusing on your breathing and understanding that you can't control your breathing, even if you can, just a little bit control your breathing. What's going to happen is if you try and stop it, you're going to pass out, hit your head on the floor. You're going to have a speed knock. You're going to be knocked out. And beyond your ability to do anything else, you'll start breathing. That's what's deeply inside of us. It happens beyond our control. And that's why when we start getting and talking about meditation and catching ourselves, we're going to focus on the breathing. If you notice when you're anxious, when you're frustrated, you're angry, what happens to your breathing? And when your breathing gets distorted, so is the rest of your life. Mm. Any questions in reference to that? That's just a foundation of where we're going to be. We're going to come back to that. We'll make that more understandable to you and why it's important to be healthy in these 4 areas. And so now when we're talking about anxiety and those and frustration and the fears that we're facing, look at yourself. Be mindful of these areas of what's going on with you physically, what's going on with you emotionally and mentally, what's going on socially, what's going on spiritually with you. Okay. There are no questions. Let's move into having our people now kind of share with their thoughts and concerns what they're facing in this time.
Uncertainty.
Uncertainty. Okay, you could go back to that other screen where it's showing these areas. What are your concerns? What are your concerns? Yeah, there you are. Somebody said uncertainty. Can you share a little bit more about what that means to you?
Or like you don't know what's going to happen in the future. You don't know if it's going to be bad or good. So you just have to wait, and hopefully it turns out good. You're not certain, which is bad because, with this virus spreading around, you don't know if you're going to get it or not, or if you already have it. You're uncertain and you don't know. So that's my thing.
Yeah, and you want to share a little bit on how it's affecting you, and remember that what we're doing as a community, we're sharing our thoughts and our fears because perhaps someone else is dealing with it and they don't know how to express it the way that you do, perhaps. But we would like for everyone to kind of get involved. So don't be shy. And please acknowledge who's speaking. So who's just speaking?
That was me. Aaron.
Oh, okay, Aaron.
Yeah.
Okay, and can you share a little bit, Aaron, on how it's affecting you in the home? Who else may be affected? What are you noticing about uncertainty with those in your home?
The way it's affecting me is I have to stay home. and I won't be able to go back to school for some time.
Yeah.
So I won't be able to see my friends. I won't be able to see the people at the school. I won't be able to see my teachers, and that affects me because I'm not used to this.
Yeah.
It's like it's different for me. It's a different situation, and I didn't expect it. That's all. I was
Okay. 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 And so when you look back on how would that be, and I won't ask everyone this, but if you can say this about yourself when I'm talking about those four domains, how is it affecting you physically? And
I'm getting exercise a lot more.
no, so that's the healthy piece. That's the healthy piece. So as far as unhealthy, how is it affecting you physically? Are you getting those big muscles that you have? Are they shrinking?
Yeah, I
That's
haven't been.
funny.
I had PE, and I would always exercise over there most of the time. And now I don't walk to school. I don't walk to and from school. I don't exercise during PE, and yeah, so I'm getting less exercise than I was before, but I'm still getting some
How
form of
is that?
exercise.
How is that affecting you mentally and emotionally?
Um, being with my brother and sister, I think I'm going insane.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing. Thanks for sharing, and we'll get back with you. Okay. And
Okay.
don't hesitate on asking the question either. All right. Is there anyone else?
Well, for me, I'm kind of experiencing like a lot of the stuff Aaron was talking about, but like I don't know, I'm kind of just going stir crazy. Like I'm not having the social interaction that I feel like most people would need, like not to go crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is Ethan talking, right?
Yeah.
So what is it? Tell me a fear that you have, right, that you're experiencing. Are there any?
I don't know. I'm just fearing that this thing's gonna last another year. If not, they're gonna find a cure for it. And then well, there's no cure for this for now, and you're not gonna be able to go to school, and then you're gonna have to start the school year off again, and it's just gonna really mess up like schedules, and then also having to stay at home and not really go places. Like there's places that are closed that you wouldn't even like that aren't needed to be closed, but like kind of are for the reasons of social distancing. But like because of the social distancing, they're closing everything, and then there's massive lines at grocery stores, and then soon we're just gonna run out of the supplies because of all these lines and the people going crazy. And then, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just I got a headache.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. And so I appreciate that when I ask you, Ethan, about the fears, because everyone is impacted in some ways that's causing this fear of having to be alone or having to run out of resources and food and then passing away or catching it. So the social distancing, although it's a way to prevent the passing and the spreading of the virus, which is a good thing. It does causes us social anxiety as well. Uh, is it impacting how you're sleeping or what you're doing around the house?
I'm cleaning and doing homework and helping cook dinner and sometimes I'm playing video games.
Okay. Those are some of the things that you can do to kind of starve off the fears. Is it working at all?
Some, yeah.
Okay. All right, my friend. We'll get back at you. Thank you. Appreciate you sharing. Anyone else?
I have some anxiety, mostly coming from like the parents' point of view,
Uh-huh.
only because I feel ill-equipped to help my daughter with her schoolwork and stuff. And then I see on the other end of it, her anxiety and her stress of not being able to go to school, or her being unable to sleep because she's out of like her normal routine. And so like I'm like fearful in general, like the most of the general population, you know, about what's going on around us. And then on top of that, like trying to navigate and be the cheerleader for her, but also I don't have answers to give her as far as like, when is this going to end? And, you know, like normal answers that kids look to their parents for comfort. Like I feel like really just anxious about it because I don't have answers for her, or I can't help her cope with those things because I myself am still trying to figure out how to do that.
Got you. That's great. And I can't see your name down. It's darked out.
Oh, Bettina, my daughter's one of the sixth graders.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Let me ask you this, and thanks for sharing. Quatina, you say?
Bettina.
I'm going to say Miss Q for right now because it's dark in my way. Is that okay, Miss Q?
It's B. You can just call me B.
Miss V. Miss V. Hey, Miss V, I appreciate it. And I was just listening to what you're saying, and it seems like the fears that are around you, and that doesn't seem like it's paralyzing you. So let me ask you this, because you're facing it as a leader in your home, and what you usually do with your daughter, you don't feel qualified or equipped enough to give her the answers that she's looking for or needed, and none of us know what's going to happen. But it sounds like to me you are in pretty decent emotional shape. Would that be true or no?
I think like on the outside, yes, but on the inside, like I feel like super like anxious, and I can't sleep because I'm feeling like I need to figure out a way to get them through this. And so like emotionally myself, I'm not a very big, like, I'm going to show my emotions on the outside person anyways.
Right.
But for my children, just being their mom, I can see the anxiousness in them. I can see them feeling, you know, a little bit isolated because, you know, their normal routine was interrupted, or they're not able to see friends or family like they used to. And I do notice that their sleeping patterns are a little bit different than normal. Like it's harder to get them to like, come on, let's go to sleep, or we wake up, or like they take more naps during the day when normally, you know, they're pretty active kids.
Right. So some activity is needed for them.
I mean, they get out, they go, they have basketball and stuff here, but I definitely do see like a change in them.
Yes. And that, when I said you were able to give the outside impression that everything is okay, that's needed. That's important, first of all, because they need to see that as a leader. You although you have those fears, you can't afford to fall apart, right?
Right.
And on some ways it's working, right?
Yeah, but I think, you know, as they've gotten older, they've learned to see like, okay, like there's something bothering mom, even though.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and that's all natural and normal. But there are some things that you are doing that are keeping the household together. I'm saying that because when I talk about mindfulness, those are some of the things that I want to point out. some things that you're already doing, that you don't need to look on the outside for it. It's already there and it's natural. So we're going to be talking about that. So any other concerns?
Paul, we actually have Mr. Munoz
Okay.
that has commented. Mr. Munoz, did you prefer that I comment or would you like to share? I'm going to go ahead and share what he commented. So he's stating, I'm fearful of death of community members, family, and myself. I'm fearful of friends who might be already struggling with underlying conditions and how they will be able to deal with the virus. I also miss family, friends, and students, and I'm otherwise unable to interact or connect with.
Can you when we move into the practical strategies piece, Ms. Marilyn, can you share that again? Just because when you said missing family and the fear of getting caught up in the death and that sort of thing, because when we look at what we can do for mindfulness to kind of shift, because those are real fears. Every fear that people are expressing, they're real, and so my point is, since they are real, and since we can't change what's happening on the outside around us, we can't stop the virus. And if you all have the answer, please let the world know. We can, and so the impact that it's killing, it is killing people, thousands, by the thousands. And so naturally and normally, we're going to have these fears, and they're real. They're real. So my point is, when we get down to looking at these things, we make a choice in the moment. How do we want this to impact us? Do we want it to continue to impact us in fearful ways that causes us not to be able to sleep or to eat? Or can we change our perspective and look at it from a different point of view? And then find the value, as Ms. V was saying, on how to maintain the leadership in the household without completely falling apart. And those behind us and underneath us who are depending on us can look at us and have some semblance of calm because of these things. So thank you for sharing that. You said, who said that, Mr. Munoz?
Mr. Munoz, correct.
Okay, and he's not available, or he's not shy. No, are we talking about Mr. Munoz?
Yes.
Okay. I know he's not shy to get on screen.
I don't know. He may just not be available.
Okay, and so when you get in these comments from the outside, I can't get those, right?
Yeah, there's a chat.
I can.
No, I don't.
But I'm the only one
who
can
to.
see
You can
it.
relate them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't.
I can definitely, as they come up, I'll definitely relate them with you.
So I just wanted to share. I know that I appreciate the sharing of the students that are on here, and I wanted to share with you some of the journal entries that I've received that have sort of sparked all of this discussion about, like, what are our families really going through. And so I went through and just kind of identified just a few things. I feel isolated. I feel sad that we're losing people to sickness. All of these changes give me anxiety. I'm uncomfortable. I feel lots of anxiety. I feel worry for my family. I'm scared that we're going to run out of food. I'm not sure when this will end. I feel trapped in my own house. I'm worried about what's going to happen next. I'm worried that I'm not going to get to graduate or walk across the stage. I feel a lot of uncertainty for things that I can't even explain.
Yeah. And if you could verbalize, Ms. Burnett, because you're receiving it. How does that make you feel? How does that impact you?
A big concern concern for me, I think, when I read these things, is I feel very sad, because I can't reach them,
Yes.
because knowing that they're alone, or that I don't have access to them,
Right.
or that our community doesn't have access to them on a daily basis,
Yes.
scares me that maybe they're going to feel this for a long time and nobody's going to be able to talk to them about it. I think when people get to be able to write, they can put out some really honest things, maybe things they wouldn't be willing to say,
Yes.
or to verbalize. And so I feel a stronger sense of worry, because I want to just like run to them and be there to support them and let them know that it's going to be okay. Virtual hugs are not going to cut it.
Right.
So I feel very sad.
You can have some water.
Yeah, and I think the truth in reference to what they journal, we really thank them for this opportunity to kind of share that, because I bet $1 to a donut. There are a lot of people, even on this line right here, feels those same feelings, has those same fears, and addressing those things, acknowledging those, getting them out of your mouth is the first step towards moving towards healing, or moving towards wellness. It may sound gloomy, and it is gloomy. It is sad. It's all of those things, and they're truthful. They're true. But can we, despite all of these things that we're feeling and we're going through, the concerns that we're facing, can we do something for ourselves so that it's not impacting us emotionally in a way that's paralyzing us, that's causing us to continue to utilize our own capabilities, our own gifts against ourselves? Can we do something? My answer to that is yes. And that's where we're going to be heading to shortly. But I would like to hear, because like the concerns that are being addressed, like I can't take that away from people. We can as helpers, as teachers, as administrators, and all of those things, we can't take someone's thoughts and feelings away from them. We could only acknowledge that they're there, and then look for ways of how people are surviving every minute of the day. The trauma that they've experiencing in your lives, even in your past. What helped you through, Ms. V? What gave you the ability to be able to stand in the gap for your children, not even knowing what to expect tomorrow? What is it? And so we want to identify what those things are, because everybody has them, or else we couldn't get up in the morning. So what it comes down to, as I said earlier, this is not a judgment on who's right or wrong about what they're feeling, about their actions and behavior. This is something to do with that, because we can rubberneck the issue and the problem all day long, because it's real and it's normal to feel what we're feeling. But the truth remains here. Can we affect the way we think, feel, and therefore affect our behavior, therefore affect the consequences that we receive from our behavior? Can we do that in spite of what we see around us? Again, the answer is yes. None of us can stop the sun from rising. It's going to rise. It's going to rise, prayerfully to rise tomorrow. It's going to rise every day. What can you do? You gonna stop it? Let me see you trying to stop it. You can't. So if you don't like the sun, you're a vampire probably, or sleep in a coffin. But if you don't like it, rising, you can't stop it. But it's gonna rise anyway. So what are you going to do? You're gonna sit around and be frustrated and angry because you can't stop the sun from rising? Tell me how that's gonna work for you in your day.
I heard knocking.
Somebody let him in.
Knocking on the door.
Let them in.
Hi, I'd like to interject.
Please.
My name is Quatisha. I
I'm
am
looking at it.
Aaron. Yeah, I'm Aaron's mom, okay?
Oh, hi.
So, in my point of view as a mother, whenever I can't step up to my responsibilities, I feel like I'm doing something wrong.
Yes.
So, what I usually try and do always is take the proactive way.
Okay.
So, I want to give you some examples
Please.
of what I did for my family to be proactive.
Please.
I don't know if you can see my screen.
I was seeing it. It was dark before, but now I see it. I see
Can
it.
somebody find me, please, Quatisha?
You're showing something on the wall there, Patricia?
Yeah, I created a whole schedule for my family.
Yes, ma'am.
They have stuff that they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
We have our breakfast schedule, our class schedule, our playtime schedule, our lunch schedule. You know, I try to map out everything to a T so that they know what's going to come next.
That's right.
You know what I mean? I got the announcement board, you know? Hey, guess what, guys? There's no school on Friday.
Yes.
I can mow the lawn right now.
Yeah. I got a calendar.
Yes.
I'm trying to find ways for them
the medicine.
to have a schedule.
Yes.
For them to know what they're doing.
That's right.
Because when they're clueless, that's when the stress comes in.
That's right.
So me as their parent, trying to do my best, keeping everything tight and right for 4 children, how can I see it through?
You may continue doing what you're doing?
I'm trying.
Yeah. And know that you know when you say that, Ms. Q, we're looking at when our children lose a routine. It may not look like it when we're dealing with them, but they need discipline and they like discipline. When they lose their routine, they lose their minds. And so
that's what I tried to create.
Yeah, at this point, you're stepping up and stepping in and creating that. I could suggest allow them to help you do it. Allow them input on it in some way. Not that they want extra time on their breaks, you know, but input on what you are doing and making them a part of it. And then it kind of creates that unity. And it keeps that routine valuable to them because it's a part of their experience. It's a part of their life. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
And so, but you are doing, that's incredible. I hope other parents are listening to that, because when we start talking about practical strategies and mindful resolutions, that's a beautiful one to follow, because they need routine.
Hey, Paul, this is
my daughter, my son.
Paul, this is Mr. Ruddick. We actually did the same thing. We have a daily schedule that includes everything from when we eat and snack, when we're doing school, when we're playing around, when we're doing chores. I mean, it even says what time we go and walk the dog around the neighborhood.
Wow, right.
So that routine is working out really, really well. We're not as strict as the military about it. I mean, there's slide, you know, but it's a great guideline for when my 11-year-old comes to me and says, "Daddy, I'm bored." I'm like, "Well, what's on the schedule? What are we doing today?"
Yeah. And so why in your mind, even as a teacher, but as a father, and very very astute individual, and your background is from Star Wars, so you come and your mind is huge. Given that, why is it that it's working out? Why is it working out for your youngsters in your household, or is it?
Well, I think it's working for us to stay focused and not get lost in our head and our thought about, what's going on in the outside world. The other thing, though, I have to hand it to my children's teachers. They're structuring their lessons pretty well, just like we are at Changemaker, and they're reaching out just like Ms. Bennett is. And so I think that it kind of supports what other people are trying to do for us and help us at the same time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's mindfulness. And what Ms. Q was saying, that's mindfulness, because you are now focused on things other than what you cannot control. And once we're able to do that, you will find so much more freedom, so much at peace. It doesn't seem like it when you look outside in the world and you see those numbers rolling across the screen, and they people being carted off because they have passed away. And those things you can do nothing about. We cannot. They're real and they're happening. But do they have to impact us in ways that causes us to be paralyzed in fear, causes us to not be able to sleep at night, when we have great responsibility for our homes and ourselves? And that's not saying that we can't feel sad or sorry for what's happening to the people outside of ourselves. I don't know if you all heard the story of the bus driver in Detroit. He had made a comment and had went on the media, on Facebook and all those things, talking about the rudeness of the lady and what could have happened on his bus. Well, I guess 2 days later or something, he contacted, he was tested and was found to have the disease. And I think 3 days later, he died. That's sad. And that's scary, because we have to go out to the grocery stores and put on masks and put on gloves and all of those things. And we have to do that because we have to do that. And so there are things that we need to do and we have to do. But while we're doing them, do we have to do them with feeling fear? Can we just look at that from a position of, I'm helping my family, I'm helping this person? Serving other people in this time of fear is a healthy way to live a healthier lifestyle. Thank you, Mr. Ruddick. Anyone else?
Paul, I just want to speak from the educator's perspective.
Yes,
right?
sir.
And kind of what's going on. And so, we're used to running 100 miles an hour and making sure that we're running everything and we're taking care of everything. And we're taking care of our families and our young people. And really, it's felt since before the school closure, right? There's rhythms to the school year, and spring break is usually one of those lulls where we get to rest and rejuvenate and then come back to kind of finish off the school year. And it's been honestly like we just had to switch lanes and run twice as fast to make sure that we're creating some semblance of stability for our families and our young people. And it's, I had to say, now work is from the minute my eyes open to the minute my eyes close. It's work is constant, right? There's messages coming in at all hours, right? To meet all of the different needs that are coming through. And I think part of it is also like, it's not just stress, but now it's like overworked in a time where everybody's saying, well, everything's shut down. And it's like, well, it doesn't feel like it's shut down.
Right.
It feels like we're running faster than we've ever had to run before, just to create a tenth of normalcy of what we had when we were just doing our everyday. Like, it's almost like we could do it clockwork, right? It was just like close our eyes and we could just do the work. And now it's like, whoa, there's all these variables and it is nonstop, right? I had to tell a colleague on Sunday, I said, I haven't stopped since before spring break. I need to have a day where I'm not doing something just for a second. So I'll get to you tomorrow, you know. But that desire to want to help others, right, in this time, is sometimes overpowering. Where like I want to help, but that could also be stress in and of itself.
That's right.
At least from what I've felt.
That's right. So what are you doing to take care of Luis? What have you found? Anything that works for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's finding moments. I have an old pickup truck.
Yes, sir.
and I'm out in the shop. I'm fixing something. I'm doing something that has an end, that I can see a concrete finish to.
Yes.
And so it's like, well, I'm gonna fix this thing that I have let go for a long time, right? We're gonna, I think a lot of people being at home are doing that. Like, there's this project that was on hold, but I'm trying to pick these small micro projects that I can see a finish to, where I know the outcome, right? I may not know the outcome to all these other things, but I know the outcome if I do this.
Right. Create small and moments of success. Those things are, when we talk about, when I'm dealing with our folks that are in recovery, they have in their mind so many failures and they just can't seem to stop getting high, and they know that it's destroying their life. One is, I always advise them to look at what they've done that's caused some type of success in their life, even if it's small. And when they find that thing, to put a feather in their cap. Remember, I don't know how old you are, but some of us, I'm going to date myself, we used to have, we're in the classroom, when we did something good, we get a blue star or gold star and that sort of thing. And that reminded us that we did something well. We did something good, and that made us feel good, even for that moment or even from that day. And so that's where, so not only were we talking about looking at, we definitely are not rubbernecking the problem, but we wanted to kind of express ourselves and kind of put those things up on the board so that we all can look at it and know that we're not alone in this. Although we may feel alone in social distancing and that, but we are not alone in the issues and the problems that we're facing in our lives. Prior to the virus and its impact in our lives, some of us have struggled and have been struggling in our lives, but we have had some successes in going through that day, even when it looked like we weren't going to make it. It's too large. I can't change it. We went to bed and we got up the next day and got on it. And so those are skill sets that we have inside of us. We got drives inside of ourselves that puts us into a space of being great, if we so choose it to be. As you're saying that, I'm thinking about right now, you got the impact of this virus, or now I can't even come down to Tucson right now because I'm here with my wife whose kidneys failed in December. And in the process of her trying to get well in the hospital, she developed a virus, viral meningitis, which has now affected her brain and how she thinks, what she remembers, how she goes and carries on through the day. She's getting better, but that has been a struggle right in my face every day. And but I have to spend time in making sure I take care of her every day. I have to create moments of joy and moments of satisfaction, because I cannot change what's happening to her. And so, but my focus is on helping her, and it's every day, every minute of the day. Actually, when I can't sleep because I got to make sure she's breathing well, or wherever this is, and I'm not complaining with that at all. What I'm saying is that's something we all have to go through every day with things that we cannot change. If I lose my mind, if I set up and I cry daily on that, even because it's the saddest thing in the world because of who she is and what she's used to be doing in her life. Dr. Frankie Gibson, psychologist, running a organization or a program for girls who are being sexually abused and pimped on the streets. So she has capabilities and strength of 1,000 oxes, but not able to perform and to act. And so I have to stand in the gap for her in that time, even during times such as these. So it doesn't allow me time to focus so much on what's going on with the virus. And I know that it exists and it's scary, but because my mind and my focus is not on it, it's not affecting me in the way that it's affecting other people. It did affect me. I couldn't find any toilet tissue for a while. But I did, because once people had done all their shopping, I was able to go out and get mine because they had bought up everything that they needed. So there are some ways to move through these fears. Is there any, before I go into anything else, before I go on to the practices and strategies, I don't know what our time looks like, but I do want to share those things that can help. Is there anyone else, or I'm not trying to stop who wants to share, but if anyone else wants to share, please do.
And Paul, we have a good 10 minutes, so.
Okay. I got as long as this computer stay powered. So whatever we need to do for our folks. Anyone else would like to share their thoughts and feelings and concerns about how the virus, COVID-19, is impacting their lives? Yeah.
Colleen, did you have a comment?
Yeah, well, it's not having an immediate effect except for psychologically, and don't like it at all. And I find I'm not really getting out quite as much when I should be, just because I don't have to, and so it's not part of my routine anymore. But I do try to keep a schedule for myself. Get rest every day, things like that. As far as making a schedule for my boys, it doesn't work as well, I don't think, if the kids are already in high school. Mm-hmm. That's my experience. All right, so, but yeah, I have a lot of pressure nonetheless, because I'm the only parent now, and so there's a lot of stress there, for sure. Just make sure everything is right. But it seems to be going okay. I do find some fun things like Pluto the dog. I don't know if you guys know about Pluto the dog on Facebook. You search Pluto living, you can hear it's kind of silly. It's a dog talking is what it is. It's voiceover, but it's a little bit situation specific, and it's pretty funny. So I enjoy looking at things like that. You have to find some distraction as well if you don't have a job that you can do at home, which I do, but it's only part-time. So
you said, Ms. Colleen, that psychologically, when I talk about those 4 domains, those other areas, mental and physical, that's one of the domains, and it's if it affects you psychologically, it definitely affects you emotionally. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The other thing I am doing is meditation. I just found a 12-minute Satanama. You guys can YouTube that if you want. It's just 12 minutes. So it's really easy and relaxing to do.
Yes.
So
And I
that's
appreciate,
good.
yeah, I appreciate that. And remember to chime in when we start talking about, we're going to move into practices and strategies and mindful resolutions, because not only that when we're affected psychologically, we're affected mentally, and we're also affected spiritually and physically, right? Because that can wear us out in ways that we're not doing what we normally actually do. So let's move in this area, and this always happens. And so please forgive me. We seem to talk about the issue more time than we have for the healing piece and mindfulness. But I'm going to do what I can to kind of get these things in, and we could always come back a little bit later. Okay? So if we can move back to, yes.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
I'm sorry. Can I say something? I have to get off. I need to go. But thanks very much, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you,
I need to
Colleen.
go. So
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Colleen.
see you later.
Night.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye,
Yeah,
Joseph.
I'm going to comment on what you had told us and what you do, so you won't hear behind your
I'll
back.
tell him you said bye.
Bye,
right.
Tell him you
Joseph.
said that. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. So first of all, can we go, I'm going to go kind of quickly through some of these things there, Mr. Luis. So if we could pop back, I'm going to do the slides now. The first two, we're talking about the automatic process. We're looking at why we get caught up and at the same way we get caught up. We're going to slide 3.
Paul, you'll have to tell me which one, okay?
Okay, slide 3, the automatic process. Can you see this?
Oh, yes, right.
Oh, okay. So let's kind of look at this, and so you will have a greater understanding. Let's go to the bottom half of the slide first. I think that'll be a better impact, and then I could come back to the top of the slide. Is where it says rule 1 and 2. Rule number 1 and rule number 2. And you're on the same slide. The same slide number 3, and at the bottom there's something. There we are. Okay, now what you've seen with the automatic process and where we headed with this is that when I said that it's natural and normal to experience these fears when our lives are threatened. And when we're threatened, we act in ways that we feel is best for us so that our lives are saved. But the issue and problem with that, when we're acting out of fear or out of pain or out of frustration, the only consequence that we receive in most of those cases is an unhealthy one. And I don't want to say wrong, because when I look at substance addiction, people are using substances, you call it coping, but they're using substances to protect themselves from the pain that they experience. But the consequences of using substances drive you into self-destruction, and then you have an unhealthy sense of yourself. That's not so unlike as a teacher or a parent per se, who's making a choice and decision about what their child should do and may do, and they feel and they're acting from their own fears of what happened to them in the past, can drive that young person into making a choice and decision that's unhealthy for them. And then the parent feel less than. We've already heard parents admit to the fact that if they feel that they can't do exactly what's needed for their kid, then they don't feel good about who they are, right? That's not so different from what we're experiencing with the virus. There is and people dying in our lives and that sort of thing. What can we do? And we can't. And we get fearful. We can't meet family members that we normally would meet. So we feel less than because of that. And so what I like to talk about is, first of all, is get rule 1 and rule 2 in us so that we can move forward again on the same page. So rule 1, if you look at it, it's supposed to be an arrow going back and forth, but you see these squares have taken up. So it's supposed to be an arrow. So what this says is how you think influence how you feel. How you feel influence how you think. And when that thinking comes back to that feeling for the second time, it develops into an emotion because you have given it, that feeling energy. Therefore, it starts to take action. A thought is a thought, and a feeling is a feeling. But an emotion is gasoline that moves us forward in action. So the behavior occurs. After the behavior occurs, then the consequence occurs. And I usually ask my young folk what are consequences, and they usually report as something bad. But the actual consequence is a result of the actions and behaviors that we perform. And then when we get that consequence, we either have a healthy sense of ourselves or unhealthy sense of ourselves. So when we were talking earlier, and Ms. Q was talking about what she's doing with her children, establishing routines for them, it leads to a healthy sense of themselves because they're doing something of routine and they feel good about it. If they didn't, some other consequence they received, maybe she'll take their Game Boy away, or like my folks used to do, get the belt. That will lead you to an unhealthy sense of yourself. So how you think influence how you feel influence how you think. And that influences your emotions, which influence your behavior, your consequences. Now, I like to point out when I say rule 1, this is true and this is real and this is what established. So when you make a choice only because of how you were thinking and feeling about yourself. There is nothing on the outside of you going on, the virus or anything around, that's making you feel the way you do. You're making a choice. You're making a choice. And that's not saying that you shouldn't be sad. That's not saying it's a bad situation. And this doesn't make you selfish to want to feel more calm and healthy for yourself. You can't control what's happening outside of you. You cannot do that. But you can control and make a difference on what's going inside of you. And if you can do that with yourself, you can do that with the folks in your household. Does that make sense? We talked about the structure in our homes and the things that we're doing and the impact that it's making. That's what's true about rule 1. There is no such thing as I smacked him in the head because he made me mad. That's true, but it's a true lie. It's true only because you believe it, but it's a lie because that's not really controlling how you think and feel. You are. It would be a true truth if what you were saying was you decided that to get angry and frustrated because somebody was doing something that you could not control. So currently the virus is doing something that we cannot control, but we choose to be upset or frustrated or anxious about it. Does that make sense at all? So rule 1 is easy for people to accept because it's true. Rule 2 is where people find it difficult. Rule 2 is you choose to have either an unhealthy sense of yourself or unhealthy sense of yourself. If you can gather these 2 rules, and like I said, this is not about being right or wrong. This is about choice. This is about choosing to feel okay with what's going on around you. In your home, with your family, whatever that may be, with the virus. Because if you don't, and you continue thinking about it in an unhealthy way, it's not going to get better. It can't get better. It cannot. So choosing how you think and feel, your perception about about anything around you weighs heavy on your attitude, your perception. Does that make sense? So let's pop back up to the, and this is how we deal and what's happening with that process of happening. We get at the top of the page, Marilyn, if we can get there, I'll speak on it. So this is called an automatic process. This is truly what's happening inside of us when we see something outside of us. We're triggered by something or an experience that we had inside that we can relate to. You see this? This color, this is yellow. And if I ask you what color it was, you would tell me yellow. And I'll ask you, how do you know it's yellow? And it's only because of the experiences that you've had in your past that you can claim this to be yellow. So if love, for example, in my life, if love had something to do with yellow, and yellow and love itself caused me pain and frustration because I lost my folks every time I thought about them, I thought about the death and the pain associated with it and the abandonment at the very end when people told me that they loved me. Guess what? The fear was that they were going to hurt me beyond my control. I got a sensation in my body. And I got a thought, they're going to hurt me. Then I got a strong emotion. I better do something about this so I don't get hurt. Now I had a strong craving to do something. And if on the other side of the screen that you can't see right now, that then we use something, we act and we behave. And that behavior goes to a consequence to have us to feel good about who we are, or we don't feel good about who we are. So it's not the virus. It's not the virus that's causing us to feel the way that we're feeling. It's not the impact that the virus is having on the world around us and on those people. It's not that that's causing it. It's us in our own heads. And so making the choice to feel better about who we are is a choice. That's what rule 1 and 2 are saying. I hope you got that. I hope that you got that. And I'm going to move forward. And you don't have to remember all of this. You just have to do things that lead you to feel good about who you are, rather than focusing on things that you can't control that have you to feel less than to where you are. So perception, as I said earlier, is our attitude. Our attitude is from our attitude matters because it drives our choices. So if you could go to slide number 5 real quick. It has presentation for framework on the top, but it's about perception. Yep, the next one. Okay, so perception. You know, if your thinking is limited, then your life is limited. If your thinking is surrounded by the fears and the frustrations of the virus and its impact, and you cannot control it, then it limits the way that you can live your life. That's what's true. And hopefully that's not too harsh or too hard, because I'm not talking about right and wrong. I'm talking about choosing to be healthy or unhealthy. So here's an example, and you all can read this. I'll read it how someone would read it. Mr. Ducks, Mr. Not Ducks, OSAR, Lib, Mr. Ducks. That's how that reads. Am I wrong? Anybody? So if that's true, Mr. Ducks, Mr. Not Ducks, OSAR, Lib, Mr. Ducks. That's our perception. That's what we see. But the story behind this is 2 farmers are sitting on the fence, looking across the farm. The one farmer says to one of them, "Hey, what's that on that pond?" The other farmer says, "Them are ducks." Next farmer said, "Them are not ducks." Then the next farmer said, "Oh, yes, they are." Then the farmer looks real good at the pond and he says, "Well, I'll be. Them are ducks." Perception. It affects how and leads to the choices that we have. And so it's up to us. It's up to us to make a choice and find things that's going to make us feel good about who we are. Miss Colleen talked about, meditation. So, and she talked about looking at the Pluto, and she talked about those things that bring humor into our lives. Luis was talking about the truck that he has to kind of take his focus away from what's happening on the outside of him. Mr. Reddick and Ms. Q talked about the structure that they're providing in their homes, making the choice to do something. We have to continue to do those things. And so adding to this, the things that we have to practice, strategies and mindful resolutions. Slide number 6. We still on time, Miss Marilyn? Or do I have to run through this really quickly? Mindfulness. And we got a definition of mindfulness and practices of mindfulness. That's the second piece. That's the second. I think that's, let me see what that is. Meditation sessions. Okay. Well, meditations, these are things that I found on a website called positivepsychology.com. And it's talking about meditation. Meditation is the ability to put yourself in your own mind, utilizing the process of focused breathing, visualizing it. And when extra thoughts jump into your head, you don't try and control them. You just have them ride through your mind and stay with the focus on the breathing. Allow it to allow you to stay with the breathing. And you do that focused breathing and until you feel calm. And there are lots of strategies and ways to do it. But the simple way is to breathe and focus on your breathing for a certain amount of time. Being aware of your body from your toes to your head, calming those, following the beat of your heart to calmness. You associate the movements, or you associate the beating of the heart and your breathing, which things we cannot control, with the thoughts that you're allowing to pass through you. So if you can imagine the Ronstadt Center, and there are tons of buses coming through there every day, and you don't know where you're headed, you don't know when this thing is over with, and you jump on a bus and you don't know where you're going, you jump off that bus because it's not taking you where you think you want to go, only to catch the next bus in the terminal, to go to the end of the terminal and to drop off and to jump off and to do it all again. Those is how the thoughts roll through our head about what's going on. You can't do that. What you have to do is just allow that bus to roll. Allow that thought to just pass through your head as you're focusing on your breathing. Because in order to continue to live, you have to breathe. And if you associate those thoughts and what you're trying to do to relax with the breathing, you will get there. So there are some different exercises, like it says raisin exercise. You just grab a raisin and you focus on the texture of it as you're feeling it and thinking about it. That helps you build your focus. Again, meditation, mindful exercises is taking your mind off of the issues and problems that we're facing. So you got body scan when you look at your body. You got mindful seeing where you visualize something in your mind and stay there. And focus on the breathing while you're focusing on what you're seeing. Mindfulness of your breath and the sounds of it, how it's working through your body. Acceptance of thoughts and feelings through the exercise, because as you're trying to relax, everything will pop in your head. Oh, you better go and get some toilet tissue because they're going to buy it all. And your mind go there, then you're lost. Your focus is gone, but you don't try and chase that and even stop it. You just let it roll, and you breathe through it. Acceptance of social anxiety, what's happening, going around you as you're breathing. You're focusing on this social distancing and making it okay because it's okay to breathe. Mindful listening is about the same thing, and this exercise you could be done in a group. So you're listening to somebody as they're running and talking about whatever it is. Now you're monitoring how you're thinking and feeling about what they're saying. Focusing on your breathing and guided breathing is the next one. So I don't have time to cover all of those, but you can find those on the website, Positive Psychology. Again, it's an activity that you can do that can cause you to feel calm. instead of just focusing on what's going on caught up. These are the individual things that you can do about compassion, how you feeling about a certain thing, and focusing on that thing and breathing and not making any judgments about it, not focusing on unhealthy things. And if it comes up, so what? It come up. You don't judge it. You just move through it. Continue to breathe. Okay, so we pop down to youth, and these are some of the things that you can do at home with your kids. This is out of a book called 104 Activities That Build, and this is the book. And the author is Alana Jones. But it has tons of activities in this book, and not necessarily this one, but you can look for activities for your young people to do that you can join in with or they can do on their own. And so self-esteem and team building, communication, anger management, self-discovery, and coping skills. There are some examples of some of the activities that are in the book. The story builds communication. Garbage art is where you just pick stuff around the house and you have a project, create some art, and all of these utilize discussion. So even when we're looking at I said earlier, Ms. Q was talking about the schedule that she builds for the routines for her young people, not only allow them to jump in and to be a part of that, but also discuss it and talk about it. So that gives you things to do in the household too, and keep you busy and keep your mind occupied and focused. And you're doing something well for your children as well as for yourself. Hope that makes sense to you. So there's another one, Good, Bad, and Ugly, that deals with anger management, talking about positive, healthy ways to deal with the anger. We all are frustrated. So we all need activities that we can find to do. 100 encourage the story or the piece about 100 is to encourage engagement and exercise and improve our physical health. And it promotes fitness as coping skills. We need healthy coping skills instead of firing ourselves up with our own skill sets and feeling less than for things that we cannot control. We can utilize those same skill sets to bring us into feeling healthy about ourselves. And then there are other activities like board games, card games, video games, puzzles that you can, as a family member, create competitive or non-competitive tournaments in a household. Different things that get your kids active, whether you're playing outside, outdoors, if possible, and doing certain events and activities that bring laughter and joy and togetherness and create a different focus in your head. And then there's also arts and crafts. So in doing that, we're looking at this process if we catch on fire and in the thoughts and feelings that we discussed earlier, frustration, fear, pain, loneliness, all of those are like fire burning in our souls and burning in our hearts. But what does firemen tell us to do if we're on fire? Simple. Stop, drop, and roll. And which means that we don't oxygenate the fire by keeping running with the same old thoughts. The stop is not stopping thinking. You cannot. When you go back to the automatic process, you can't stop a trigger. You can't stop a sensation from happening. You can't stop a thought. You can't stop the emotion. You cannot stop the craving, and you cannot stop the behavior once that thing is on the road. But what you can do is you can catch yourself feeling a certain way where the stop is actually being aware of the way that you're feeling. And because you're feeling that way, you're not going to judge that you're angry. You're not going to judge that you're frustrated. You're not going to judge that you're anxious. You're just going to recognize it and acknowledge it. And if you can catch yourself at that feeling of anxiety, fear, or pain, guess what? You must be okay. Because if you couldn't catch yourself and be aware of the fact of how you're feeling, then you're not okay, my friend. You're not. And the act of this thing is once you recognize that you're okay, you just simply drop in an affirmation. You can drop in an affirmation that I'm okay. I'm feeling okay. And guess what? You roll with I'm okay. So if you can for exercise, let me hear you say, you can if you like, but say it to yourself, yes, I can. And not just, yes, I can. But yes, I can. And what that'll do, that'll change the way you look. It'll change the way you feel. You get this big old smile on your face. Your body feels a little differently. That's you doing that, not me. And that's very simple. That you have, when you look back at rule 1 and 2, you have a choice to feel either less than about yourself or feel affirming about yourself. How do you feel about you? You make that choice. So these activities that we're talking about is takes your focus off of the craziness around us that we cannot control, put them directly onto you. And that man or that person in the mirror makes that change, then everyone around you then will have the effects of that change. I hope that makes sense. Change your perception on how you're seeing things. It'll change your attitude. You won't have the uckets or I can't find any answers here and there. You can find answers inside yourself. They're there waiting for you to access. Not what's happening outside of you. Not to say don't know and being aware of that, but your focus for change is inside of you. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Yes. These are our activities that you can use. Again, we went back to the automatic process, but that was only because I was describing how to use the stop, drop, and roll. You use the stop, drop, and roll at the emotion. You become aware at the emotion because you can't stop once you're triggered. You look outside, you see somebody dying or they got the last roll of toilet tissue. Man, you're triggered into a sensation and a thought and emotion that is unhealthy. And then that affects your ability to act. That's what that is saying. And you can change that. You can change that using visualize something that makes you feel good about who you are and roll with that. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Go with that and roll with that. And that'll change your attitude. That'll help you move on and live a healthier lifestyle and have a healthier sense of yourself. Just that act alone and everything that you do. You may remember this or you may not. But if you can think about this, I ask you this question. Are you somebody? Are you valuable? Are you important? You are important to somebody, to your babies if you're a parent, to your students if you're a teacher, to your mom if you have parents, to your brother, your sister. You are somebody. You are somebody. So let me hear you say that. I am somebody, just like you said, yes, I can. So when these things come up around you, these fears come up around you, you tell yourself that you are somebody. And you tell yourself, yes, you can be somebody. It'll change your focus. It'll change your how you're looking at life. And you are somebody based on this slide, this next slide that I'm going to show you. I am somebody. It's slide 11. Keep going, if you will, right here. And I don't know if you can see this to capture this whole thing. But what it is, a question and what you should remain and have inside when I ask you, are you valuable? And that's where you have to run to when you have this sense of you can't control what's going on around you, but you cannot control the virus, the impact that the virus is having in the world and even in your own home. But they stop, drop, and roll. I want you to have this in your mind. That I am somebody. And the reason that you are, if you think about it, I took this nice round number of 10,000 tadpoles. And what that is saying, at the time of conception, when your mom and dad got together, unless you got brought into this world by a stork or a petri dish, right? And if you have, that's okay too. But at the time of conception, at least 10,000 tadpoles were secreted into your mama's womb. 10,000. 10,000. How many of those tadpoles, what do you mean sperms, right? How many of those tadpoles fertilize the egg? One. That means out of 9,999 other potential lives, You got to the point that you needed to live. You did. No one else. You did. That's power. And if you understand that, power that you have inside of you to control how you think, feel, and behave, there is nothing that happens around you, outside of you, that can affect how you truly would like to feel if you choose to feel peace. Choose to feel wellness. Choose wellness. Choose wellness, despite what's happening around you. Choose wellness. And if you can do that, you can live a healthy lifestyle with a yes, I can attitude. Now, I want to thank you for being a part of this presentation. There's a slide there. I think you got it. We talk about humor and what humor does for ourselves. Here is something that I found. And when I first showed it to a group of young African-American kids that I was going, they didn't find it funny in a sense, because I don't even have to add to that, but this is the reality. It says, smile for you. Smiling is infectious. You catch it like the flu. When someone smiled at me today, I started smiling too. I passed around the corner and someone saw my grin. When he smiled, I realized I passed it on to him. I thought about the smile, then I realized its worth. A single smile, just like mine, can travel round the earth. So if you feel a smile begin, don't leave it undetected. Let's start an epidemic, quick, and get the world infected. Everyone needs to smile. And my smile goes to you. Choose wellness. Thank you. Any questions? I know we went a little bit over, but if you have any questions, now is the time. Marilyn? Luis?
Well, Paul, I just want to thank you so much for your time, for providing us this insight, and for, again, helping us to ground kind of, again, ourselves and our thought process. This is what we're hearing from our students, our families, and from each other, right? That these uncertain times that caused all of these things to creep into our mind. And thank you so much for helping us to kind of lay a foundation to say, yes, even with this happening, we have control. We have control of one thing, and that's our mind, our attitudes, our beliefs, our emotions, our feelings, and how that rolls forward, you're talking about. So thank you so much, Paul. It's beautiful to have you on, for you to bless us with your time and with your knowledge. We're extremely grateful for making this time. I want to thank everybody who joined us. I know some people had to come in and leave and et cetera, but we'll continue. Thank you so much for providing us all this information, Paul. We appreciate you so much. We will wish you well. We wish good health on you and your wife and your family. And we want to continue to stay in touch with you and continue to work alongside you for the betterment of the community. So thank you, Paul, from sincerely. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity, and my prayer is that it was somewhat clear to most everyone. You just laid it out, and to what exactly in the direction that I was going, Luis, and that's your mindset. And I pray that if there's any concerns and questions, that people contact us, or contact you, contact Ms. Marilyn, contact Ms. Burnett. You all have an understanding about this, and I'm willing to share most of this information. Some of the slides are my personal things but if people would like to get copies or talk about it, I'd like to talk about it if they get it. Some of the other information that we shared earlier, the agenda and those types of things are open. And I would like to continue following up and following through and training people on how to learn to utilize the best of who they are to get the best out of themselves, to live a healthier, more productive lifestyle with a yes, I can attitude. So again, thank you all very much. If there are any other comments or questions, please don't hesitate.
Here we just have a couple folks. Ms. Snook is saying thank you for this. Mr. Munoz, so much, Paul, Miss Mickey, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Ruddick, yes, thank you very much. And again, B, thank you to all the Changemaker staff for your hard work and dedication to our students and our
Yes.
community. So just a few comments there as we're exiting here. And thank you so much again, Paul. Thank you so much, everybody. Mr. Tess saying, thank you, Paul. Gracias, Paul. Some great suggestions for coping with the circumstances. So again, we're gonna keep on keeping on, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a good evening and rest of the week. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Bye.
Thank you, Paul.
All right,
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.